The film that I'm going to be talking about today is somewhat obscure. Directed by a pair of brothers, it follows a group of men and women from all walks of life in a subtle and powerful film about family and fatherhood. Made by the company that owns Fox Searchlight on a small budget of around $800 million and making just under $3 billion, making it just barely the biggest film ever made, this small film is art in its own way. All jokes aside, Avengers Endgame is a nearly perfect series finale to the biggest TV show of all time. If you didn't get to see it in theaters, I feel bad for you, especially if you didn't get to see it in a premium format. It gives a satisfying conclusion that each of the main characters, except for Thor, who's due to get another film in 2021, and Hawkeye, who is set to get his own TV show the same year. But with every film comes one or two flaws. All of my favorite films have flaws. It doesn't mean that they're bad. A movie can be filled with flaws and still be enjoyable. And how many flaws does Endgame have?
One.
Yeah, so I guess this technically isn't really a review. I just really wanted to talk about this one thing from this movie. And that one thing is Thanos. Alright, let me explain first. I don't think that Thanos is a bad villain by any means. In Infinity War, he was probably one of my favorite cinematic villains ever. And that's for good reason. It's not because he's a heartless killer, but because he truly believes that he is the hero. The movie is structured like he's a hero too. You even have his own little theme. He's the opening and closing scenes of Infinity War. He makes sacrifices to get to his ultimate goal. He cries over the loss of his daughter and has very human emotions despite being a purple giant CGI thing. He's very powerful but not invulnerable, and the CGI on him is nearly flawless. Thanos is a character that you can't help but sympathize with as he continues on his quest. In truth, it could have been called Thanos Infinity War, since he is technically the protagonist. In Endgame, Thanos must come back in full swing, right? He's got a sword, he's got a farm, so of course we're gonna see even more of this fantastic villain, right? Right? Nope. Thanos is killed off in the first 20 minutes. While this scene is amazing in its own right, and it diverts expectations in the best way, it makes the final battle feel a little bit meaningless. Rather than keeping the same Thanos throughout this 11-year arc, they decide to kill the original Thanos and bring back a Thanos that was created in 2014 to the present day, and using that Thanos for the final fight. This wasn't a threat that was created 10 years ago, it was a threat that was created 10 minutes ago. It's Thanos, sure, but it's not the one that killed Gamora, Vision, or Loki, meaning that a lot of these characters have little to no motivation to fight him. Most of them didn't even know that this was 2014 Thanos, causing them to take their rage out on the wrong person.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
While this scene is admittedly awesome, it just doesn't feel right because she's taking all her rage out on the man who she thought killed Vision, but it's really not. Sure, this Thanos would kill Vision if given the chance, but he hasn't yet, meaning that she doesn't really have much of a reason to use all of her power on him. I think that this problem could have easily been fixed. I'm a writer myself, so I decided to come up with an idea that the Russo brothers could have used to make this Thanos the 11-year buildup that he was always meant to be. So say that hypothetically, the Avengers didn't kill Thanos in the first 20 minutes. They arrest him in the same prison where they were kept in after Civil War, and he stays there for the majority of the film during the time heist. This isolation changes him and makes him realize that the only way that he can make his goal permanent is to not just kill off half the universe, and not even just the Avengers, but the entire world. When Rhodes and Nebula end up in 2014 when Thanos finds her, he could send the 2014 Nebula to rebuild himself, much how he rebuilt Nebula over their entire lives, if that makes sense. He then escapes from prison and gets some help from his army from 2014, and then the film continues as normal. While this idea isn't perfect, I think that it's a solid way to bring back a villain that has already been defeated rather than bringing in a younger version of the same character. After all, I think that rebuilding him is better than restarting him. even with this one really nitpicky flaw, even with 33 seconds of logos, even if Black Widow eats the sandwich to look more like an asshole, Endgame is a nearly perfect blockbuster movie and conclusion to many character arcs. It's one of the few films that I wish I could watch for the first time again. There are so many ways that this and Infinity War could have been messed up, but thankfully the Russo brothers delivered us some actually fantastic movies, and that's so rare for any kind of conclusion. I'd love to make a full review of both this movie and Infinity War, but that would be hard for me to not geek out because every other channel has done that review so far. And like I said in my Lion King review, I want to be unique. I will say that both this and Infinity War are tied for my second favorite film of all time. That'll probably change with age, but for now, I love it 3000. Thank you guys for watching.